Hi, DBL Nation. Kelly Schuberth here with
Tori Shulman.
And it is Wednesday. I almost said Monday. I'm glad it's not Monday. I know, these flyaways
No,
are like...
I got it. You're good.
Also, can I tell you something just real quick while you're touching my flyaways? So there was this dramatic moment on The Bachelor this week where these two girls were arguing, and then all of a sudden the other girl starts touching the other girl's head and fixing her flyaways, and she's like, yeah, I've got flyaways for days. And they like start arguing about it. It was really good. Anyway, thanks for being a friend and fixing that.
Anytime.
And not like someone I'm arguing with.
Anytime.
So we are on day 26 of the government shutdown. We're, of course, here every day in the break room at 9:30 Mountain Standard Time. We like to talk about the top trending stories of the day. I'm sure you're getting sick of hearing about the government shutdown, but it's our job to talk about it.
We're sick of it
talking,
too.
Yeah, we're over it. Day 26. What's happening now is today Atlanta's mayor is speaking out about the Super Bowl. So we saw in Atlanta earlier this week those 3-hour security wait lines. She's starting to get worried about the people coming in and the people leaving for the Super Bowl. So she says they're preparing the best they can from their vantage point. She says on a normal day, 60 to 80,000 passengers travel through the Atlanta airport or go through security leaving the Atlanta airport.
Oh, no.
They're calling it Mass Exodus Monday, and they expect 110,000 passengers to be traveling through. So if there's not enough TSA agents, that's going to be obviously a big problem. I'm sorry. I'm just like holding your rundown.
You're
not
fine.
Even getting one to you.
Yeah, I think the Super Bowl is going to be where we see things clearly in
Start
chaos.
to crumble.
Yeah, start to crumble. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
So in the meantime, 46,000 workers.
Because it's in Atlanta.
Yes, it's in Atlanta.
If you were like me, like I wouldn't know that, like, right?
Yes,
it's in Atlanta.
good point, Tori. It is in Atlanta this year.
And that's one of the busiest airports in the world.
Busiest airports in the world. Yeah.
And the line is, I think, about 3.5 hours long now?
Yeah, it's long. And they say it keeps getting better and then getting worse and getting better and getting worse. But again, it just depends on how many TSA officers that day are calling in sick, which there's no way of telling.
And if I were a TSA agent, and I'm not saying I would think this is a good thing, but if you want to make the most impact,
I would be calling in sick.
On Super Bowl.
Yep.
I think that's how you make an impact. In some ways, it's a bit of a strike.
And it's hard because it's like you want to work for your country and you want to protect your country, but at the same time, at that point, we'll be at how many days of the government shutdown? That's what, 2 weeks away?
That's indentured servitude.
It's a lot.
And that's against the 13th Amendment. I'd also like to point out that our airports are now getting significantly more dangerous.
Less safe. And they are saying that today. They're saying, I want to get it exactly right. It's now less safe than it was before the shutdown began. So there's no denying that. That's coming from the National Air Traffic Controllers Association today. Yeah. Not a good thing.
No, nothing good about this.
Nothing good is coming from this. IRS workers, did I say that? 46,000 IRS workers are being called back to work today. They won't be paid, but they are being called back to work to issue those tax refunds.
Let's ask this question. What would you do? Would you go to work?
That's the question, yeah. Would you go to work? Our timer fell again, Alex. Would you go to work? And I have a question for you.
Yes.
You're our legal eagle.
Yes.
If I work for the government
yes.
and I decide not to show up for work,
yes.
can they legally fire me?
Yes, but then you can sue for wrongful termination.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering. Yeah. You can sue back.
Yeah, just so you know, there's a big group of industries that are basically doing class action lawsuits against the government.
Okay.
Literally as we speak, they're filing them now. They're saying there's no way you can have me force me to
go to work.
Force me to go to work and then not pay me.
Not to mention these people have to go find other jobs to pay, give their kids food on the table and stuff like that. So they have to be able to go do that.
Right, and some of the response is, well, you're getting back pay. Right, but like in the meantime, I can't pay rent. Yeah, and it's in some ways you're not getting any due process. You're not. I mean, there's all these things you could sue for.
Okay, so that was my question yesterday. I know some DBL Nationers had that question as well. So thank you for clearing that up for us.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So another thing today, this just happened right before the show. Nancy Pelosi is now asking the president to reschedule his State of the Union address. Now that is supposed to happen on the 29th.
And we're on the
26th day of the shutdown, but it's the 16th day of January.
So and they went on January 29th.
Yep.
Okay, got
it. So not far from now. In the meantime, his people are preparing his speech, but they're saying if the government shutdown is still ongoing, the speech is going to be all about the government shutdown.
I can't imagine listening to a president speak about the State of the Union when the State of the Union is in shutdown. What is he going to talk about? If I were he, I wouldn't do it.
No, I would cancel it. Yeah, I would reschedule it. That's what I would do too, but it seems like he's going to be taking advantage of it. Oh, man.
I feel like when we talk about the State of the Union, we should just be like, it's bad, and like walk away.
Yep.
It's not good.
Sorry.
Happy Wednesday.
Checking your comments.
What a downer today. Sorry. What
Tori
a buzz.
and I are a little all over the place today. It's fine. Stacey Sorba says hello and happy Wednesday.
Hi,
Happy Wednesday, Stacey.
I hope everyone's doing well.
Yes. It's a great day here at Daily Blast Live. It's going to snow soon. Did you know that?
Are you a snow person?
I don't know. I'd rather just have the sun.
I've
gotten so used to the sun. I don't mind when it snows and then the sun comes out. But if it's snowing during the day, I want to be at home watching Netflix.
Ugh.
Speaking of Netflix, I have to ask you this, DBL Nation.
Netflix.
I don't even know the name of the show, but Marie Kondo, have you guys watched that show?
I can't believe you don't know the name of the show.
What is it? Tidying Up or something?
Yeah.
Is that the name of it?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So
watched it?
I've read the books. I do the practice. Marie Kondo is someone that I particularly like. If you don't know, she is a wonderfully quiet Japanese woman who is a self-organizer, and she has a theory and a sort of, what do we call this? A tenet, a credo on how you should clean your house. And she believes that, let's say, here, Alex.
Here, this lip gloss.
Yeah.
Does this work?
Yeah. Give me a bunch of this. You're supposed to take all of your items, every single thing, your clothes, your junk drawer, everything, put it in one big pile, and then you're supposed to say, each one, Tori, does this lip gloss spark joy?
Does it spark joy?
And then you're supposed to go instantaneously, yay or nay. And if it's even close to an A, it's gone.
Thank you for that demonstration.
And then eventually she thinks the problem is, and she's a new Netflix show.
Yes.
Called it's the life-changing magic of tidying up or something like that.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
And it's this niche thing and everyone's doing it and it's great. However, it's good for a minimalistic environment, and she just said that she thinks books can be clutter.
Drama.
And you can
People
only
are getting
have
upset.
30 books at a time in your house.
Does it spark joy?
Does it?
Yes, Daily Blast Live sparks joy.
Okay.
Keep it.
See?
So anyway, the reason I have to ask about this show is because it's all over my Facebook, it's all over my Instagram, and I find it to be a good thing because I see so many of my friends, they have bags and piles of stuff they're giving away to Goodwill, which is awesome, or women's shelters, or anything like that. So I'm going to do it this weekend.
So now someone did come on HuffPo, which if you guys don't know, Huffington Post is just an online site, and say they did the work and they regret it.
What?
Because now here's the thing. Don't get too overzealous with what doesn't spark joy. If it's your teddy bear from many, many, many years ago and you're like, just for a second, don't regret things. But
I think it's safe to put the stuff in piles, but don't take it right away. Maybe think about it. Maybe sleep on it.
I feel like she would disagree with you, but yes, I think
she
that's
probably
fair.
would too.
Oh, God.
But for me, it's clothes are the biggest thing. You guys see, I wear the same clothes on the show, and so there's so many clothes at home. I just need to get rid of. I don't wear them.
And it is a good feeling of, does this spark joy? And if it's just you know the answer. Gut-wise, you know the answer.
And I think that's a really good way to do it because usually I'm just like, oh, well, I wear this again. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, when I lose that 30 pounds, I'm going to wear it. But does it spark joy? Even if I lost that 30 pounds? No, get rid of it. See,
that's a different perspective.
Right? Yeah. It really is. So I like that. So DBL Nation, I want to know, have any of you watched that show? If you have watched it, have you been inspired by it? Have you taken a bunch of clothes? Have you got?
I've been inspired. I got rid of a junk drawer because of it.
What?
Yeah, it's very helpful. Tammy Gibson just brought up a phenomenal point. Of course she did. She's in Ann Arbor. She's so smart. She says, could Congress not show up to the State of the Union?
Oh.
And that is yes.
I think yes.
I don't even, and I have to be clear on this, and you can fact check me, I think there's only one moment in the Constitution that even mentions the State of the Union. I don't even think it's in there, so I'm going to take a look at that. But that's a great point.
Yeah, that's a great question. I need to know about it. Sorry, we're having technical difficulties, so I was mouthing to Alex. Are you guys good at reading lips? I'm really good at reading lips.
She's crazy.
Tori posted a sneak attack Instagram the other day, and I was like, I can read your lips. Delete it.
I thought I was being clever. She's like, this sucks. Take it down.
No, I would never tell you something
So
sucks.
Yolanda DeLong says, no, I wouldn't show. I would be working for a temp agency to pay bills and buy food.
That's the thing. So many of these people are having to go to food banks.
And now people like Elizabeth Warren, let's say, or if you are, I believe Marco Rubio is also doing this. I'll have to check on that as well. They're making some good money in Congress and in the Senate, and some of them are donating.
I think there's 26 of them doing it. There's quite a few of them doing it, which is great, but that doesn't help us.
Yeah.
That's not helping us. These people still have to pay their bills. They still have to
You're not the ones
pay
we're
their
worried
rent.
about.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the ones we're worried about.
All right, so we want you guys to let us know, do you think if you were in the Congress, the Senate, the Supreme Court, if you're in that, would you show up to the State of the Union knowing that the State of the Union is in a shutdown?
It's literally shut down.
Naomi says, hey, I'm going to ask my brother who retired from the Coast Guard to see what he thinks about the shutdown. Or
please.
My retired dad and grandfather. We normally never talk politics, but I know they all voted Trump.
I would love that.
Fascinating to find out, Naomi.
That would be great.
Let us know.
And again, it's a safe space, so,
let us know.
We'll have a good debate. So I think we're going to go to the fifth host now.
Yeah, it's a very interesting, sexy one.
I really like this one. So the question today is, do you think watching adult videos counts as cheating? Do you think watching adult videos counts as cheating? It sounds like I'm a game show host.
Do you want to just say it twice? Do you think?
Do you think?
No. I think it's a very healthy part of people's lives. I have no problem with adult films as long as it's not subjugating other parts of your relationship into problem areas.
So I had a friend who, she was dating this guy for a really long time. No, she's actually my best friend. She was dating this guy for a really long time, and they were in love. She talked about getting married with him. And then she started to find out that he actually had an addiction to watching adult videos.
And that's a real thing. And
that is a real thing, and it's way more common than we think. And she tried to work on it with him, and it just didn't end up working out. That's an example of a really... That's a bad example. But I also think in relationships, you can use adult videos, and that can spice up your relationship if you can watch them together, or if you like that your man or your woman is watching them. I think as long as you have a conversation with your significant other, or you might just not care if your significant other watches adult videos.
Yeah,
you might just not care.
I think you're right. I think so it's all moderation, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're drinking too much, if you're smoking too much,
exactly.
If you're even exercising or shopping too much, or sex addiction and adult film addiction is a real thing. However, here's what I wish I could remember who told me this. They said there's 3 things that will work in a marriage and a partnership for the rest of your life. If you and the person are on the same page as 3 things. Money, meaning you're neither both
you had told me this
frugal or you're both kind of see the same philosophy on money. Religion, it doesn't have to be the same religion, but you're the same type of observancy, right?
Yep.
And then third is sex. And if in sex you guys are very into that kind of kinky thing, awesome. There's no problem with that. But if my partner is Kelly, and Kelly is super into adult films, and I'm awkward or not into it, there will be a problem that will go on until the blister will stay until you fix it.
And I think
be clear on what.
Yeah, I think you just have to be clear with your.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. I think you just have to be clear with your partner, because I also think there could be times where you may have not even ever considered that your partner might watch adult films, and if you come home and see that your partner is doing that, you may get upset. Or again, you may not care.
Right.
Or you may be excited, whatever that is. But you have to have that conversation, I feel like, with your partner to decide how you feel about that.
Yeah, it's just like diet. What do we want in our refrigerator? What do we want in our sex lives? You want to think about that as a part of the foundation of your relationship. Lisa Lynn just wrote us on Facebook.
Yeah.
No, watching adult videos together is common, and addiction is not good. Now, Dr. Drew told Sam, our co-host, something really interesting that says the margin of going to watching adult films and watching them too much is very thin. And I didn't know that. Gotcha. I sort of thought, it's healthy, it's cool, we can all do this, right? And what we're hearing now is actually it's and I didn't know this either, it does change the plasticity in the brain in certain ways if you're overwatching it.
Arousal?
Yeah, and also of what you expect from your spouse. So if you're like living in it, or if you're really changing the way your personality is.
Why doesn't my significant other do that?
Yeah. And that's a thin line. I thought that was a big line.
That is.
Right?
That's interesting.
Dr. Drew said that is a very thin line. So interesting to hear that that's something you want to think about and be careful about, because that can be a big thing.
David Thetford on Facebook, he says, yes, it is considered cheating. Deb Mick on Facebook, if that counts as cheating, then what do people think about a person? Imagine thinking watching porn is cheating. How boring can y'all get? That's from Jaleesa on Twitter.
I would say that to, who's that, Jaleesa?
Jaleesa. Thanks for joining us, Jaleesa.
Jaleesa, I would say this, or Jaleesa, I think you're right. I think a lot more people than you think are watching adult films.
I do too. And
it is $1 trillion industry. Right? Somebody's watching.
Yeah, I mean, I have some numbers here actually. In 2017 alone, Pornhub, which is just one website, got 28.5 billion visits. That's almost 1,000 visits per second, 78.1 million a day.
Yeah, this is an enormously popular industry, and if you are now in the thought that your partner doesn't watch or doesn't, and you haven't talked about it, chances are that might not be true.
Yeah.
So if you want to be open, I wouldn't be angry. I would have a nice casual conversation.
Agreed, yep.
And say, adult films or whatever you call it, how can we discuss this as a mature adults?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's what it's there for. Sex is important.
And I also think there's a stigma and around men only watching adult films. Women watch adult films too. It's not just men.
Yes, they do.
It's not just men who
I
watch
think
adult
you'd be
films.
really surprised about the amount of people that watch.
I do too.
I think you would all be very surprised. I think I would be surprised.
Yeah, I think we all would
Candy
be.
Somers, I apologize, wants to know, is it out in the open or being hidden?
That's the real question here.
Right, but here's my question. If I walked in, let's say in a relationship, and my significant other was watching and didn't tell me I'm going to be watching an adult film today, I don't think I still would be that hurt.
I don't
think so.
But
if the addiction is being hidden, then I feel you.
Yeah, if it's and that's how it was with my friend. It was clearly an addiction. He didn't want to have sex with her anymore, so it did. It started to change his personality.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Danny C just writes, and I miss what Tori said are the 3 things for marriage. Anyone know? Really quick, they are religion. Let's start. My favorite one is money. Do we have the same philosophy of money?
Yeah.
Do we pay for good hotels but not on good restaurants? Do we splurge on food or do we splurge on our house?
Yeah.
What philosophy do we have? Number 2 is religion. Are we observant? You can be Christian, I can be Jewish, but are we, I'm always going to temple, you're never going to temple? Will there be a problem? How do we raise the kids?
Yeah, how do we raise the kids? Yeah.
How observant
Which is something
are we?
Chris and I have talked about.
Right. Me and Brooks the same way.
Exactly.
And finally, sex. If you are someone who's a foot fetish guy, no judgment, and you're someone who really can't stand to have sex more than once or twice a month, you all should know that about each other. If you're kinky as hell, it's going to be great. If you're not, and it's a problem, those 3 things, if those 3 things don't work out, apparently that is the
it's a deal breaker.
Those 3 apparently, according to science, will be the reasons that majority of people are not on the same page. It'll end in a divorce.
Yep.
So it's an interesting concept to think about.
And Chloe, Captain Chloe on Twitter. Ooh, Captain Chloe. Thanks for joining us, Captain Chloe. Thanks for joining us. Porn is cheating. Stop invalidating other people's feelings. That's why I said to talk with your partner and put the limits with them. Yeah, I think.
But what do you mean by porn is cheating? Because I don't agree with that. And if you do, I would love to hear your debate on telling me why you think it is. I think Americans came over here from England very puritanical, and I think sex has been very repressed. I don't think it's the same in other countries, and I think it is seen as just more of a healthy part of your life. So why, and I'd love to hear from you, Captain, why you think that porn is cheating, and is it because if it's done secretly? Because I also have a friend where that was done, and that is devastating. I'm not excusing that in any way. If you have a problem,
especially if you had a conversation about it before, and then you do catch that person, and it catches you off guard. That could be jarring.
Horrible.
I can totally see that. That's no fun.
Right. And also, let's say I'm watching adult films about a kink, and I've never shared with my partner Kelly. That's also painful.
That's painful.
Because you really want to be open.
You feel like you're being left out, of your partner's wants and needs.
Trust or something like that.
Stephen Hill on Facebook. Tori, well said and open-minded on this taboo subject. Impressive.
Thanks, Boo.
Stephen, you are so nice.
Thanks, Taboo.
Tabby Soder Crocker on Facebook. Thanks for joining us, Tabby. She says, the only problem I'd have is age of the people in the adult film. And that's another thing you'd have to discuss. You know, some people have fetishes.
Yes.
And that's something you'd need to discuss with your partner because that could get really messy.
Yes, I just want to say one last thing. When I say fetish, and I know that rings icky, fetishes can be, and I'm not saying
completely healthy.
They can be phenomenal. Yeah. And they can really open up your mind in a relationship and make you go to another level. And I'm just saying that in our world in 2019, I'd like for you to challenge yourself today to think of fetish as a more positive thing and less as a negative. It can be negative.
When you hear the word fetish,
but it has a real negative, right?
You think like,
and some
fetish.
people, this is their way of really experiencing pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm not a fetish person, but if you are, I think challenge yourself to not see fetish as
a bad thing. I think that's a really
thing.
Good thing, Tori. That's a really good point. Well, we're wrapping up now, unfortunately, DBL Nation, but keep sending us your comments. Besties. Keep sending us your comments. We want to hear from you. You'll hear your comments throughout the show all day. We're going to be continuing to cover the government shutdown. We're obviously going to be talking about Marie Kondo.
And adult films.
But now, here's a Heart Threads.
On the outside, we just look like the average, heterosexual couple with a kid and a dog. Like, but we're not.
Jennifer and I met and we became kind of, you know how you click with people, we became instant friends. And she mentioned that she had a transgender husband and I said, what? I think one of the first things that she mentioned besides the fact that he was transgender was the fact that they were married as a same-sex couple.
I think we knew that we were like a good match, like right from the start. And we moved in together after the first year.
We were friends.
We were friends because my parents still didn't know, so I hadn't come out to them yet. At the time, it wasn't legal.
Yeah, gay marriage wasn't legal.
We had our wedding where we weren't legally married in September. It was beautiful, and it was exactly how I wanted it to be. I wasn't expecting it at all. He had been going through some therapy because I knew he felt a lot of social anxiety, was struggling with that.
I don't know if I necessarily knew right away that there was like, that I was male. Like I just always felt different or odd. And even when I came out as a lesbian, I just didn't feel like that quote label, as much as I hate labels, I didn't feel like that really aligned with who I was. I came across a documentary on the Logo channel actually. Finally like came to light, like, you know, and was really like, oh, this is how I'm feeling and all of that stuff. It really was just kind of like this moment of clarity, but do I want to like basically potentially, you know, ruin my entire marriage? And it was just a lot of back and forth. So I was like, oh, you should watch this video, you know, this bit of the documentary, and basically was telling her like, this is how I feel.
I didn't understand, like I didn't get it. I didn't understand like how somebody could feel that way. Like, well, this can't be happening. This isn't real. Like, this is not going to be my life.
When Jennifer was going through the process of coming to terms with Mark's decision, she went through hell, and she went into cutting and anorexia and deep, deep depression, and really felt very alone, like nobody else in the whole world would understand what she was going through.
We both questioned, you know, whether or not I would be able to remain in the relationship.
It was hard because, you know, seeing her and knowing like that she's struggling, and I felt really bad about that, but I was also excited at the same time that I was going forward, whatever the, you know, process of my transition was going to be, and that I finally realized who I was.
It took realizing that although there were a lot of changes, like when it came down to it, he was really the same person. And I loved him for who he was, no matter what. And I didn't know whether that was something that I could do. And there were a lot of times where I wasn't happy and I was very uncomfortable, but I never stopped loving him.
You know, there are a lot of people that would have thrown up their hands and said, absolutely not, this is not what I signed up for, it's not what I want. The fact that she was even willing to try, you know, that to me was just, it was so special, so unusual. And I kept putting myself in her shoes and thinking, I don't know if I could do that.
We both kind of decided that we didn't care what label you wanted to slap on it. It was what it was, and love is love.
I was awestruck at everything that she had gone through, that everything this couple had gone through. And I just said, you gotta let me tell your story. There are a lot of books out there by the trans community written from their perspective. There are very few books out there that are from the partner's perspective.
It ended up being really kind of amazingly therapeutic to kind of retell some of the more difficult things about you know, the transition and our journey, because I was telling it from like being in a much better place.
The biggest blessing I could have asked for is to know that in trying to help somebody else, that this also helped her. Who could ask for anything more?
Truly, it was just the love that we had for each other and the support that we were willing to give one another. And in all the times that I felt like I needed to support him in his transition, he was supporting me and, you know, and helping me through my struggles. And there's really, I mean, there's no other way to say it or describe it, but, you know, it's just true love kind of like saw us through.